Hi Buttercup, welcome back to my channel. Today's book review is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. And now I'm just gonna say right up front, love her last name. I kind of want to use it as a name in some book. I don't know what book, but I really do have like a little mini goal to figure out how I can put Kingsolver as a name. First name, last name, it's gonna happen. So just, in future reference, if you see it, it's because of this book. I'm just saying. Okay. And then also, perfect book. Absolutely amazing. Perfection. Fantastic. Gorgeous. All the positive words for Demon Copperhead. I had this as a library book, and I got, let's say, 150-ish pages in, and it's about 500 so pages with teeny font, and it's due in 3 weeks, and you can't renew it because it's so damn popular, and I get why. Okay, I understand, but I was like, no, I gotta buy this book. So I broke my book ban for this novel. It's that fantastic. We're gonna jump right in. Now, Damon, nicknamed Demon, Copperhead because he is a ginger, stands out a lot. Why? Because he is not just redheaded, okay, and very tall. He's like over 6 feet. Built like, what was he playing football? I don't know. So he is built like a footballer, whichever. He's not a quarterback. Defensive lineman? He's something. He is, okay. But other than that, he is also tri-racial. So he is white, Native American, and black. And this is in Lee County, Virginia. It's like right on the very edge. You see like the little, I don't know what you would call it, but there it's kind of like a loop here, like this. And Lee County is just like the little thing right here, because I looked it up. I was like, where's Lee County? I have so many people that I'm related to in Virginia, West Virginia, and all that stuff. I'm like, I don't know where Lee County is. Yeah, it's like that little tail. Nowheresville country, okay? One would say this is where the rednecks and the hillbillies are, and yes, though there is lots of history involved in Lee County, and mainly where coal miners are, or tobacco farmers, and there's some other farmers, but it was mainly tobacco and coal mining in this area. Of course, that's died down, or basically gone, except some instances. So the county is poor in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s when this was going on, and it still is today. There's not much going on in terms of job opportunity and education, though they absolutely try their best. They definitely try their best. And now Demon, I'm going to switch back and forth, by the way, calling him Demon and Damon. It's just because that's kind of what they do in the novel, so I got used to it. His dad dies saving his mother, and his mother becomes addicted to drugs and alcohol. I'm going to say mostly because her husband, now she's a widow, dies because she can't swim and she went into the water and she went under, and then her husband, Damon's dad, dives in, but he actually hits the bottom of this devil's bowl. It's interesting. I don't know how to explain it. It's a kind of a phenomenon, not just in Lee County, but everywhere, where it's just like it's not a cave, it's a bowl, and then there's some water, like a waterfall that fills it up, but it's pretty shallow at certain times. Damon's dad didn't know. He's trying to save the love of his life, and he just hits the bottom and he dies instantly by a broken neck and back, and I think a broken skull. It's not good. Also, the fact that she grew up in a foster care system and did not get adopted, so that's a whole problem in and of itself. So she is addicted to drugs and alcohol, and we start with Damon taking care of her like 5, 6 years old. There's the Pigots. That's probably French. I don't know French. I'm going with Pigot, but maybe it's Pigot. I don't know. But Mr. and Mrs. Pigot with his friend Maggot. It's like, I don't even think it's like a country thing. I think there's a lot of similarities between the city and the country, or what you would say city poor and country poor, which actually you go into that. But there's a whole thing with just nicknames, and like just silly nicknames. Like his nickname's Demon, his friend's name is Maggot. Like I thought it was funny, but I did see people that were like, that's weird. Like, you didn't live in the country, did you? Or you didn't live in like city, like New York City or DC. Same thing happens. Anyway, they're besties. They're right next to each other, but you know, unfortunately by 10, 11, 12, one of those, his mom overdoses and dies. And he is now in the foster care system, but he does finally get some help with a coach. We call him Coach. And then his daughter, Angus, her actual name is Agnes, but nickname Angus, like Angus beef. Because why not? I mean, it sounds, Agnes is a bit hard for a lot of kids to say, so I understand. It's just silly stuff like that. I love it. And, you know, so we're watching him grow up, become a teenager, get into football because of Coach, and finally feeling like there is some connection there, but then he gets injured. And this is where we really dive into the specifically opioid crisis, not just in Lee County, which I believe it's still a problem, but not as big as a problem during the late 90s and early 2000s, where you had clinics where, you know, you would go and you would get just opioids, just Oxycontin all over the place. Doesn't matter. Oh, you hurt? Okay, here you go. It's that type of situation. Oxycontin is a very difficult drug to get over. We see that with Demon. And we also see that with his friends and family and his first girlfriend, Dory. This is basically Appalachian David Copperfield, which I was like, okay, here we go. I love it. Noticing that I did say I have a lot of family in West Virginia and Virginia. I also have a lot in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Florida, Kentucky, Delaware. Basically, I am Rust Belt and country, but not like deep south. So I know this situation very well. I also, like, I grew up in DC because my mom didn't want to be very country, so went to DC. So I have the best of both worlds. I understand DC life, or big city life, and I understand country life, like Nowheresville country. Like, there's 4,000 people in your town type of country. Or also, like, there's 500 people in your town. Village, actually, or does it count as a borough? I think it's a borough, if it's 500 or less. You're in Nowheresville, it's gonna take hours to get to a grocery store or a hospital. Like, I get that as well. And it's probably why I love this book so much, because they don't have accents. And I'm so glad that Barbara didn't do the whole annoying accent thing. I can't with accents written out. But there is a tone of voice and a cadence and word choice and where you put words, Damon specifically, but also the people that he's talking to, where you put words and tone and all that stuff to indicate where they're from and that they are country people. And I know my uncle, one of my uncles, speaks really close to Demon, And sometimes I do as well on accident. I don't know if it's really on accident, just unconsciously, just how I speak. There are instances where I'll sound like Demon, and then other times it's just like a city accent, not really a thing. No, there are accents for the city. I think it's hilarious because I have a new neighbor that I was talking to, and she's like, "Where are you from? Your accent is hilarious." I'm like, I don't even know that I have an accent. Okay, everyone has an accent though. Isn't that mind-blowing? Like, I didn't even think about it. But her, like, she was so confused. I'm like, well, I mean, grew up in the city, but also traveled a lot to multiple different areas in the country, so it's this. So it's probably even more confusing than just straight up city or straight up country. But I digress. I really related with Damon, and this is a fantastic instance of where Barbara, a woman, is writing a male character and a triracial character, and it's spot on. Absolutely fantastic. And I say triracial because white, Native American, black, but specifically, and this is a pretty big part in the novel, is there's a word for the triracial specific, and just in Lee County in Virginia, because there's a whole history there. I'm probably not going to say it correctly. An illusion. So you should look that up. I think it's really fascinating. I'm not like doing like a whole deep dive of that, but I looked it up. I spent like an hour researching this particular group of people. Fascinating. At the end of the day, he is okay. There was some bumpy shit going on. Like, not even bumpy. Like, there was some horrible things going on where someone would be like, oh, that's not possible. But in the big cities and in Nowheresville country, it's absolutely possible. I know a lot of people that have that story of Demon. That's my family members. Similar stories on both sides of my family. And something similar in different ways, but you know, there are similarities with my past as well with for Demon, so I think very relatable, just very relatable. And I like that Barbara was respectful about the differences in how you write about the opioid pandemic, racism, just being dirt poor, also being an alcoholic, being addicted to other drugs like heroin and meth, the foster care system, being an orphan and what that means, trying to live up to expectations and go above and beyond because now you found a foster care parent that you feel like you have to do everything perfect or else you're going to be thrown away because everyone else has thrown you away. On and on, so many great topics. I understand why this was an Oprah Book Club 2022 choice. I'm going to tell you that right now. At the end, he does start to write and draw because he's great at drawing. That writing about the issues and the positives of being a redneck is a great ending, I think, because yeah, you can be a redneck and not just be white. I think there's different there's different wording for what redneck is, especially the last like 5 or 10 years. Demon's triracial, and he does not look white. He has red hair, but he has a specific look, and he says he's a redneck. It really is like I need to talk to you because I have gone through so much and I've seen so many different people that I can't assume anymore. And I think that's really important. Do not assume. Talk to someone, get to know them, and then decide on their whole life. I don't think people forget that. And that is also a really good reminder. And what really forces you to do in the big city and in the country. You have to get to know people to survive. Now, can you get by? Of course you can get by if you don't know people, you know, but it's more well off if you get to know people, and you can't assume anything. You got to give it a go talking to them. You can't just base it on what they look like. And that's the same for the people that are, you know, talking to Demon and what he looks like. And some of them are hesitant, but most of them are like, oh, cool. They know exactly what his background is, because it is a very specific look, just in Lee County. Or in like surrounding counties who also know about the triracial history of Lee County. And that also brings up a good point of get into history, talk to your fellow neighbors, or talk to the librarian, or talk to the bartender. Like, just talk to people, because, yeah, for the most part, everyone knew what Damon was, and that was not an issue. There was a little bit of racism, but in a 500 plus page book, it really was not about his skin color. It was more about, which I think is interesting, and it does follow what I've known for country, is like, where did you come from? How poor are you? Oh, you're part of the foster care system. Okay. So I think a lot of people, and this is unfortunate, and I think this book really brings to light of that, is just because you're living in the country does not automatically make you certain things. I think that we do a disservice to everyone, not just people in the South, not just specific people. No, we do a disservice to everyone, assuming, and it really depends on the area, it depends on the state, it depends on a lot of things, but to assume that everyone in this book or just in real life is just automatically going to be white if you're talking about the South, inaccurate, so inaccurate. So I think this book also does a great job talking about that, because he's not the only person that is mixed. There are other people that are mixed, and there are people that are Black and Hispanic, and just everyone in different ways, of course, because he's the main character. So basically everyone's going to be like a side character, but you know what I'm saying. It is all included, and there is a reason, and I just really enjoy the in-depth conversations that have been discussed and shown perfectly in this novel. There's just always some silliness on Goodreads, but there are people that are saying that it's not accurate, and like, Demon would never be accepted at all because this is the South, and how, Barbara's lying or whatever, or there's no such thing as this illusion group in Lee County specifically, and like she made it up or something, which, okay. There's a lot of silliness going on. Don't listen to that. It is accurate. There is such a thing as Malusians. Demon is a Malusian. And yes, they can have red hair. Look into genetics. I don't know. That's just something that you should look into before posting something so publicly. And like I said before, some people would say, oh, this can't be a real life story. And that's where possibly your privilege is showing, because I've heard similar stories, and I've heard even worse stories than Demon in the country. So I would say, going into this novel, be open. Don't assume anything. Don't go in with stereotypes, because that's not... You're going to be disappointed. Very disappointed. You're going to learn some things. You're going to be surprised. You're going to laugh. You're going to cry. I probably think this is one of the best books of 2023, and one of my favorite books that's, I guess you would count this as historical fiction, because it starts in the 80s. I don't know. But it's really like the Appalachian David Copperfield, and I am really happy that that is shown. And just to add, Barbara lives in the Appalachian Mountains, so she knows what she's talking about. She knows the history. You can clearly see that she has done her research, that she has talked to many people with any and all backgrounds you can imagine, and she did her research, and maybe you won't count this as historical fiction. I'm not 100% sure what it's categorized as. It's not literary fiction because there is a happy ending. So it's something, but it is fantastically something. Thought there was a bug. Okay. It's fantastically something. Sometimes fantastic books just can't be put in a genre or subgenre, but really it is, like I said, an Appalachian version of David Copperfield, and you can get the vibe of it. Demon Copperhead, you know, you get it. Yeah, okay. So yeah, pick this book up, pick it up. You gotta read it. Tell me in the comment section below if it's good. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your reading or writing day. Bye.